Being recorded.
Okay. All right, Leslie, you doing an introduction?
I am. Welcome to our Wednesday 101 webinar. I'm Leslie Scott with Reuseful, and thanks for everybody for hanging in there with us. Excited to have Chris Williams back. I don't know if anybody came to the fermenting workshop we had, but it was awesome. And Chris is just an overall talented person and is going to
on
talk.
a computer.
It's gonna talk to us today about flower arranging. I know I've got some flowers blooming in my yard that I'd love to put together, take to work maybe. And so excited about that. Just a little bit about Reuseful. We're a nonprofit organization here in the Kansas City region, and we help people find a place for their still good stuff that can be used by nonprofit organizations, schools, and churches, but also just looking at sustainability more broadly, or especially around reuse and repair. So I will hand it over to Chris.
All right. Thank you guys again for your patience. My talent is not the computer, but I am very talented at flowers. So just stick with us for this next, 45 minutes left. And we will go through some harvesting of flowers from your garden and different things that you can use besides just flowers in your garden. There's just a huge amount of things that you can do to make an arrangement for yourself or for a family member, or if you're wanting to sell them at markets. So I picked a few things this morning. You always want to go out and harvest in the mornings or late in the evening. If you're going to do it late in the evening, if it's a hot day out, you make sure you water them before you start harvesting them. But most of the time I try to do it in the mornings. So this morning I went out while it was still cool out and got all the harvesting done. When I take a bucket out with water already in it so I can harvest it right and put it straight into the water. You can do it in a basket, but if you're getting it back inside, then you need to recut your stems. Your stems, the cells in the stems only stay open for about 30 seconds. So you'll need to remember that. And so, for instance, I've got some maple leaves here laying on the table. And if I had not put them in water a little bit ago, it still doesn't matter. I pulled them out about 10-15 minutes ago. I have to recut everything so that it starts drinking the water again. Okay, so that's just kind of the basic on harvesting. Always a clean knife, always a clean bucket. If you are harvesting baby's breath or daisies that are white, or any white flower, Queen Anne's lace, anything like that, you can put a little bit of Clorox in your water also. It just helps keep the flowers petals really white. And also you can put flower food in there. Most of the time I put my flower food right into my vase. When I put my water in my vase, I tend to fill it a lot fuller than a lot of florists do, because that first 24 hours, the flowers are going to drink a lot. So I put a little bit more in there, knowing that, because when I get it to my customer or to my mom or whoever, Mother's Day is coming up, so mom will be getting flowers next week. I don't want her to have to worry about, oh, I got to water it tomorrow. So I tend to fill it a little fuller. I always use clean utensils. So I'm cleaning with your Clorox or with alcohol, or just dish soap would be fine too. So what I put in my bucket or my vase here is warm water, or it can be just, it doesn't need to be ice cold, but even the buckets that you gather your flowers in doesn't need to be ice cold. It needs to be a warm water so it drinks it up quicker. So that's just a little bit about the water. When you're harvesting, you want as long as a stem as you can. Even if you don't think you're going to need that much stem, you just never know when you're going to. So it's better to have a longer stem. And so I tend to just get down as far as I can. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some different kind of greeneries you can put in. If you go out in your backyard and you have Johnson grass, which is a very nuisance, it just it's not a fun thing, but you can use the Johnson grass. I harvested this grass here, and I don't know what kind it is, but it'll be really pretty in an arrangement. You can use, I got honeysuckle here, which is the invasive honeysuckle, so it's not the good, but it'll be just fine in my arrangement for my greenery. So you don't have to have all of the really nice stuff in here. And then some of the other stuff that I harvested this morning is some unusual things. I got our garlic is putting on its scapes, and the scapes are beautiful. It's the flower part of the scapes, and we don't let ours go on and mature into flowers, but we pull them, and so they have this curly part to them, which really is great in an arrangement because it is making your eye travel around the arrangement. So we're going to be putting some of this in one of the arrangements here in a few minutes. I also harvested some peppermint. I love putting herbs in my arrangements because most people love to lean down and smell the flowers, and a lot of flowers do not have a beautiful smell anymore. They have been bred out, and because when they've been bred out, they have been bred so that they last longer, or they might have a more striking color to them, and so there's not a lot of wonderful fragrance to it. So I always put mint in there so that you have a fragrance. I put thyme, I put basil, any of the herbs of rosemary, just so that you're having that using all your senses when you're doing a flower arrangement. Then the other things that I harvested this morning was some irises and some alums. And so the garlic, the onions, all of that is in the alum family, but I have some alums that we don't eat, and they have beautiful flower heads on them. So I harvested that. I also, the yellow flower that I harvested today, see if you guys can see it over here. So this yellow one is actually some mustard that went to seed, and it's got a beautiful flower on it that will help the arrangement pop. When you are doing your arrangement, you either want to do a monochromatic, which means all one color, or if you're mixing colors, it is better to do 3 colors, pick 3 strong colors. So what I'm doing today is a purple, the yellow, and white. So even in my greenery, so I've got the maple leaves that has a purple tone to it. So we're going to go on and start here. Everything's been laying here on the table well, even when I pull it out of the bucket, you'll see that I still recut it because I want that freshness so that it really takes on the water. So I'm going to go on and put some honeysuckle in here. I'm going to pull the lower leaves off because we do not want leaves down in the water. That makes the rot happen quicker, and so your flowers will not last as long. Go on and cut that. And this one is going to really hold my arrangement together. So I just set it down straight down in the middle. And then I'm going to go on and put some of this maple leaves in, cut it again. And I want to really put the stems down deep. I want them to be able to almost touch the bottom so they're getting plenty of water. Again, remove the leaf from there. And I am doing 3 leaves or 3 stems on each side here. When you're doing design work, you want to always think in 3s and 5s, those odd numbers, because when you're doing this type of arrangement, we're doing a tall, all-rounded arrangement. So we want to balance it out on the round. If we were doing a one-sided, we could get by with having equal amounts of flowers, but it looks better to not do that. So far, this is what I've got. I've got really loose greenery in here, and I'm going to go on and start now building the flower part. So I'm going to take my tallest part that I'm going to do first, so I find my height. So the vase that I'm using here is a pretty tall one, And the rule is that you do 1.5 times taller than your vase. I'm not going to quite go that big today because that would make a huge arrangement. And but I'm going to at least go up to a good, well, maybe it'll be about 1.5 times, I guess. But so that's what you want to think about, unless you're doing a really tight roundy moundy. And we are going to be doing one of those in a little bit if we have time still. So I'm going to take one of my alums here, a tall alum. I'm going to retrim it at the bottom, and I'm trimming it at an angle. So you don't want to cut it. Oops, that's going to be really short. Let's do, let me go on and get a brassica instead first for this tallness. So this is the mustard brassica. And pull some of these off here. So I want that really tall. I'm going to take off some of those lower leaves, recut the bottom. There, that's better. So now I have my height up here. And this won't stay exactly where I want it just yet, but as I'm building this structure, it will. So what I want you to imagine is the vase is part of the plant going right into the ground. And when you're building your arrangement, you've got one main stem coming up out of the ground. So it's the straight tallness. Then off of that main stem, you have branching coming out. So this is in remnants of just a plant outside growing. So you think in that term. So you've got your whole main branch here, and then the other branches coming off at an angle, because that's the way the plants grow, all at an angle. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go on and let's do some irises real fast. So this has got a curve to this iris. You guys can see that. That I'm going to use that for my benefit. So I want it to help curve and get the angle. Again, I'm cutting the bottom at an angle. Oh, I did not tell you guys. The reason you cut this at an angle is that if you cut it straight off, it will go down to the bottom and sit on the bottom and not let water in. So cutting it at an angle, it can still get the water. Now I've talked longer, so I'm going to recut it because I want those cells to be really open. Okay, so that's coming in at an angle again. I'm going to do another one the opposite side here. Cut the bottom. And I'm going to go pull these out. So here's a nice tall one. Take off that lower part. And I always watch too on my irises because they have multiple flowers that are going to bloom. And so if one has already been spent or already bloomed, I go on and remove that, look for any damage on them, and then recut it and put it into my arrangement. So this one I'll put here in the front. So that is 3 going off into the angle now. And let's do a 4th one here. This one looks, there's one spent one right there, so I'll take that off. Cut it at an angle and put it in. And now I've got 4 in here right now. And so I want to have my 5th one, because remember, we're working in 3s and 5s. So I'm going to do one up here. And let's take, this one, I guess will work. Recut that bottom. And actually, I'm going to trade this around. This is going to go over here, and I'm going to put this one up. It's a little longer there. So I've got my height with it too. And I'll pull that out. You'll see that I'll keep pulling that one out because I want that height up there. Let's go on and put in some of this alum now. So this is a really nice tall one. So I'm going to put it up here at the top too. Well, it's at least taller than my other ones I have here in the bucket. I have purple alums, and I love these alums. They're like firecrackers or 4th of July stuff. I mean, it's just beautiful.
You have a lot of flowers to choose from in your yard, it looks like, Chris.
I do. And, and every week is different. That's what's so fun. Here a couple of weeks ago, total different flowers that I had available. Next, well, my peonies will be on, well, I was hoping they were going to be ready today, but they're not quite. But I'd say in another 2-3 days, we will have peonies available. And we've got columbine that's just beautiful this year. And just a lot of different ones. I love flowers. Flowers are so important for our health, because when you see a flower, it lifts your spirits. But it's so important also for our gardens, for the bees to come in and pollinate from, other good bugs, just help pollinate your vegetables and other flowers. So just a really good thing to have some flowers in your yard.
So question, you're putting this arrangement together, but if you had not cut your flowers to where you could use them in the way that you want to, then you'd kind of be stuck. So how can you plan out your arrangement a little bit in your head so that when you go out to harvest your flowers, you're making sure that you're getting the stems long enough, etc.
Start with knowing what vase you're going to use. That's going to help you a whole lot, and kind of what style. The next vase that we're going to do is going to be a total different style, and you'll be able to see kind of how we can do some different types of roundy moundy styles. And that way, if you don't have any tall flowers, you can do something really short, like when a juga comes on, or even tulips. My tulips are really short, and so you can still enjoy them, but just do a different style with them. So I'm actually cut that. This is Dame's Rocket, and I've cut it down a little bit and tucking it in. Still cutting everything at an angle. Turning it around so I can get a good balance going. And still trying to pull up this one that I want up higher. Let's put a little bit more of the Dame's Rocket in here.
I have a ton of that in my yard.
Oh, I love Dame's Rocket.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Beautiful. Okay. So I am almost done with this. I want it very garden style, and that's what I've got going on here. I'm going to come back and add a little bit more of the yellow. The yellow helps pop the arrangements. I'm just going to tuck it in different places. Remove those lower leaves. Remember to do that. I guess I ought to be tucking over here where you guys can watch me. So I'm just taking it, and at this point, it's getting pretty tight in here. So I'm having to work a little bit harder to try to get the flower into the water. And this one just doesn't want to go out in there. So I'm just going to remove it, put in a different one. There we are. So when you're doing flowers, enjoy the process. Don't make it feel like it's a chore, because it's just something to really to help you relax. Some more right here. I'm going to turn it around so I put some yellow on the other side, because you want it well balanced. So I said that this yellow is mustard. So it went to seed, and I just do not pull my mustard anymore. I let it go to seed, go on, flower up, and enjoy the whole bits of any of the brassicas. Arugula, same way. My parsley is just about ready to go to seed too. And I'll do the same thing with that. I'll just take different herbs, and mint's beautiful when it goes on in flowers. But I just try to enjoy all the different flowers that we have. Okay. So that, you just saw that I pulled this alum up again. So I want him up there tall. The only thing that I'm going to put now on is a bow. And I'm not going to really show you how to make a bow today, but I'm going to put it right here because I am making a front to this arrangement. So I've got a bow that I've just done 1 or 3 loops on each side, but I want to add some sparkle to the bow. So I'm going to go on and add a little bit of this sparkly blue to it. And I could do just a purple, I could do white. But this is just something that I already had. And I thought, well, this will look really pretty with it. So just learn to kind of use what you have. Don't go out and buy brand new on everything. All right, so I went on and I'm using wire here to help tie my bow off. And bows do take some practice to do. That is a whole nother class. So, but I'm going to go on and I'm going to put a wood pick around it. Actually, I'm not. I want to use one of the stems here to show you, because you do not need to go out and buy wood picks. Let me find a stem that is, here's a stem I can use. Just going to take one of the heavier stems I have here, and I'm going to use that as my pick. Take off that greenery and make the wire go around the stem. All right, and then that's going to go on in here. And kind of adjust my bow just a little bit. And you would want to go on and trim up your edges on your ribbon. I actually did not grab my scissors, so I'm not going to do that right now. But so there's your arrangement. And it's all, you sit it in the center of your table because it's all rounded arrangement. Now I'm going to set it off on the side here. Leslie, how much time do we still have?
We have 25 minutes, and I wanted to ask a quick question. I read recently that refrigerating your arrangements can help them last longer. Do you ever try that?
Yes. So you can just keep the flowers. You can go on and harvest them, put them in a vase, and put them in your refrigerator, regular 41, 42 degrees. If you don't have room, sit them by your air conditioning vent, not right on top of it. But if it's really hot outside, if it's 100 degrees, it's not going to hurt it being sitting on top. But you don't want the blowing of the vent to dry out your flowers too. But yes, and especially if you're making corsages and stuff, they've got to be kept in the refrigerator in a plastic bag. And that's one thing too. Say you just don't have a big enough area to put your flowers in a walk-in or in in a refrigerator. You could go on and put a bag around it if you're making these for your daughter's wedding, okay? Put a plastic bag around it, sit it in the coolest room possible, closest to that vent, and that will help keep the moisture in the arrangement and keep it cool. And I'm going to sneeze, so I'm trying to pass. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the suggestion was even, I mean, you're not looking at your flowers at night. So if you have room in your refrigerator, put your bouquet in the refrigerator at night so that you can enjoy it longer. So I thought that was an interesting tip.
Yes, that is. Okay, so I'm going to make kind of a more roundy, low arrangement for you right now. Again, I'm going to use some of this honeysuckle, the invasive honeysuckle. One way to get rid of it is by using it in your arrangements. Cut that. Remember, cut everything at an angle. And then I'm putting it into my vase at an angle also. Take off those lower leaves. And this one is going to be a low arrangement. So there, some more.
Chris, what are you using to cut the stems?
I just have my nippers that I use outside in the garden. Okay, and you can do it with a knife. I always have a knife here with me too, but and I was trained to do it with the knife, but it's really easier with the nippers. So this is some Baptiste that's getting ready to bloom, but it's not there yet. But I still love the difference of the foliage and the little spikies that are here. So I'm going to go on and put some of that into our arrangement, and I want it to kind of hang down. So I cut it off there. Go on and put that in here. Take off some of these lower ones here because I want it to drape on that other side. Okay. And then I've got some lamb's ears here that I love. And so that way it'll be a beautiful lighter color in the greenery. Take out the lower leaves, cut it at an angle. And I'm going balancing around. I'm doing threes. So 1, 2, 3, and I accept on the Baptiste. And I think I only did 2 on that, but it's a little fuller. So it still makes it all the way around. But even on the honeysuckle, I did it in threes. On the lamb's ears, I'm doing in threes also. And let's see, I want some mint in this one. So got some of my longer mint. I'm going to take off those lower leaves, just strip them down, recut the bottom, and just tuck the mint in there. And I'm putting it down low because it's not really long, very long stemmed right now, but it's long enough to get into the small vase. And when somebody brushes up against it, they're going to smell that wonderful aroma. And I don't need a lot in it. I think I'm just going to do the 3 on each side of that. Okay. And then we've got some irises left here that I'll go on and remember, I'm doing more of a low mound one. So this has got a beautiful curve to it. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. Go on and let it be one of the lower ones here. And I've got another one here. It's got a curve to it also. So I'll put right there. And don't have another one. So I don't get to use my, oh, here's one. Good. I do have enough. So there's my 3. And let's put in some of the Dame's Rocket. And again, I recut it, putting it down low. And this one here has got some lower branches. I'm going to go on and tear those off and do them individual in here. Remember that we're looking at it like there's one center piece still, even though it's a different style arrangement, everything is going in at an angle because of the way plants grow. So that's going in at an angle. This one I'm going to take one more piece off of here, and that's going to go in right here at an angle. And then this one I'm going to retrim, and it's going to be my top, but I'm still not going to be very tall on it. I want it pretty short. I've got, oh, look at that. I have some more irises that are not open. So I'm going to go on and cut them down and put in. So in another few days, this will be open and give me more beautiful flowers in that arrangement. Cut it right here. There's another one that I can put in there. And one more here. All right, and I've got some alum left. And I'm kind of using the bottom of my table is how I do my measuring. So let me just show you. So I'm getting ready to put it over here. So if I didn't cut it off, it'd be above the level of what I'm trying to do this rounded look. So I've got to go just cut about a half an inch off, and then it will be level and it's not flat level because we want like a basketball, a half of a basketball is what I kind of think about. So I want it nice and rounded. And then when I look down here, I want this part rounded too. So it's balanced out everywhere. All right, so I'm gonna use my table kind of pull off those lower leaves and stick that in there. And what do I have left here? I think I just have the mustard left, except I have my garlic scapes. I want to go on and put a little bit of garlic scapes in. I'm not going to use the greenery on it. I just want the loops really to show. So again, recut the bottom. And I just want my eye to be able to travel around this arrangement. You guys see how it's pulling down and round through here, make your eye travel. Cut this one off, remove that greenery, and stick it down there again. So there's a second one. Do a third one here. And that one is kind of coming up and around. I'm going to put it kind of where I want it to go. So I turned it up. Actually, I want to move it here. So yeah, never be afraid to pull it back out and put it in a different spot. And I've got 2 more. I think I'm going to go on and put all 5 in. I love the way it makes your eye travel. And this one is going to be my top one. So I'm going to make it just a little taller. Still down in the water though. And then we're going to go on and add some of this mustard. So we don't need it very long again. I'm go on and trim it down here. Okay. And I'm just going to stick just a little bit here and there in. Not that one. It doesn't have a firm enough stem. It just wasn't wanting to work. Turn this around so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. So this, can you guys see the yellow right here? It is up above where I wanted. I need it to stay down low. So if you can't, it's got such a fragile stem that I'm just removing it with my nippers. So don't be afraid to remove. All right, let's put a little bit of this one around. Now I don't need a whole lot left. Oh, that has no yellow on it, so we're not going to use that one. Right here. Don't be afraid to adjust these to where you want them. And I just want just a tiny bit of this yellow just to help brighten it up a little bit, even though I think purple it's actually my favorite color. But the yellow helps things pop quite a bit. Let's get a couple more pieces and then we're going to call it done. Okay, so that time when I put it in, I kind of pushed the little Dame's rocket down just a little bit. So I pulled it back up. All right. Last thing I'm going to put in is a little bit of this grass. Even though it's a roundy moundy, a low arrangement, I just want a little bit of this grass to tuck up and around and give my eye just a little bit more texture to look at. And I'm definitely going to do it in 5s. I'm going to put one tall one right here in the center. And then I'm going to have 4 branching off from that main stem. So there's 2 branching off. There's 3 and 1 more here. Okay, so that is done. So it's got to make your eye curl around. It's just very well balanced. I've got 3 of the lamb's ear here. I've got 3 of the irises. I only have 1 alum in here, but it's okay. It's still got purple in it. So I'm not wasting it. It's beautiful. And then I balanced out the yellow also, so it's scattered throughout it. And then I've got the beautiful aroma when I'm hitting this. I wish this would smell a telephone, but I can smell it. It smells really good, very uplifting with that mint. And that's it. And this one, I don't feel like it needs to have a bow on it. I rarely ever put bows on my stuff. What I do though, is a lot of times I put butterflies or birds in mine, and I didn't have any right now, but I always put something in there that says this is me. I love, we call them alligators. They are windmills. Okay. But I'm going to go on and stick that in just for some fun, because there's my beautiful farm arrangement. Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Well, so Chris, I don't know if you know this, but Viviana is joining us from Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Okay. Welcome.
Priscilla, where are you coming from? All right, maybe she'll put it in the chat. So what struck me about your workshop today is I'm thinking outside the box of what to put in your arrangements. So I would never have thought to put lamb's ear in an arrangement, or the garlic, or it's just the grasses that you found. It's just striking me that we need to be more flexible in what we think can go in an arrangement.
Right. And to think, about, well, it could be weeds, what we tend to think as a weed, but if you look at it individually, it has beauty in it. And how can you go on and take that invasive thing and use it for good? So.
Anybody else have any questions? Or any reactions or thoughts? Viviana, what are some of the flowers that you might be thinking of using where you're living in your neck of the woods? I think she's going to be putting them in the chat, but yeah, I mean, I'm going to totally rethink what's in my yard now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because we don't have to have the traditional roses growing or gladiolas or daisies even. I mean, I have them, but at this time of year, they're not blooming. And so about a month ago, I had to do some flowers for a funeral, and it's still pretty early here. And so I had to really think outside of the box. And I had some irises blooming then. And we have a high tunnel. So I had mustard and arugula both blooming because it had gotten too hot in the high tunnel for them. So I just thought outside of the box with it, and the flowers were beautiful.
But anybody else? Viviana says she's going to add some mint in the future to her arrangements.
Good.
Yeah, I think I will too. Goodness knows I always have a lot of it. I made the mistake of planting it in the ground and it goes wild.
but it's not a mistake, Leslie. You got to think differently on it, because we have about eight different types of mints, and I don't put them in containers. I put them under my blackberries because I would rather have that grow than have a weed, what we really call a weed. Okay, so it is a good product that's under there. I plant it everywhere, and say it goes out into the walkways. What I pulled today was out of the walkway. I'll go on and pot some up, but I just let it go and enjoy it, and say it goes into my grass. Well, you know what? There's a benefit of when you're cutting your grass, you've got a wonderful aroma going on. So just I try to think of mint totally different because I would much rather have that growing than what I traditionally call a weed.
Yes, I think that that's a very positive way of looking at it. Does anybody else have any questions or any comments? I liked the rule of three and the rule of five. That
Uh-huh.
made a lot of sense, I think. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because a lot of people, even in a bud vase, you're using one, sometimes two, but two does not look good. So if you're doing a bud vase with just two flowers in it, it is really hard to make it pleasing to the eye. So think of it as doing it in threes. How can you put it in there as threes or just as the one? But it just two is really it. You would think because we tend to think, oh, that's balanced, 2, 4, 6. It's but it's not when it comes to design.
Yeah. Yeah, really good to think about. Right. Well, if there aren't any more questions, I want to thank Chris Williams for this really helpful class today on flower arranging. And we will send out the recording. So if you want to look at it again and get some more of those tips that you might have missed, we'll get that out in the next day or two. And in the future, I just hope that you're able to take these tips and make some beautiful arrangements for your home and for maybe some gifts.
And Leslie, could you tell them what how to follow us on Facebook?
Um, well, I can let you do that.
Okay, so on Facebook, if you have Facebook, we are Pepperberry's Urban Farm, but it actually comes up under Precious Petals, which is our flower part, and Pepperberries is the farm part. So Precious Petals and Pepperberries. So follow us on there. Reach out if you have something growing that you're trying to figure out how to arrange it into something, or just any questions. I would love to speak with you guys on there. And just thank you for putting up with the problem that I had to begin with. So,
I think we've all experienced technical difficulties, so it's all good. All right, well, with that, I think we'll wrap up this webinar and we will see you next month is going to be our webinar with the resilient activists on 5 essential steps you can take for a resilient life. So I hope you can join us there. And you can follow Reuseful at Be Reuseful with 2 L's on all the socials. So we'll talk to you next month. And in the meantime, everyone be safe and have a good rest of your day.
thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.